All right, let's bring her on. Our guest today is a sports broadcasting legend and a trailblazer. She's also worn a lot of blazers as she's recently celebrated her 30th year at ESPN, quite possibly the hardest worker in all of sports media, Harry. Here she is, Oswego State Hall of Famer. Linda Cohn is here. What's happening, Linda?
Hey, Linda.
Oh, my. You guys are happening. First of all, thanks for having me on. What an intro, and shout out to Oswego State. My goodness. You know, the legends keep coming out of this amazing college that will always be known, as you both know, for the greatest sunsets in the world, among other things.
You know, that's what they when I went for orientation, for some reason they billed it as the second greatest sunset. The greatest was somewhere in Japan. And I remember, as a wise ass, I said to whoever was leading the tour, I said, what do we have to do to get to number one? And she had no idea what to do with that question.
Okay, let me tell you something. I'm a lot older than you. When I went to that orientation, they said Oswego had the number one sunset in the world.
We lost it?
How do we lose that? And by the way, do you remember the song? Again, different decades. Do you remember the song? Like, you know how they had that? I was so into music as well as sports, and still am. The musical montage. You're sitting there as a 17-year-old. You're like, oh my God, this music is touching me. I love it. For me, it was like, Dan Fogelberg. But what were they playing for you? And Seals and Crofts.
Yeah, I think it was like Richard Marx or something somewhere in there.
Lovely.
Well,
to the night or something.
We'll get to Oswego in a second. But I just want to congratulate you. Huge milestone. 30 years at ESPN. It really is an amazing accomplishment, and it's going to make it that much more upsetting when you leave to join the Live Tour.
Yeah,
that was almost a good joke.
Yeah, exactly. Where I can really get paid. I mean, you guys are
TV
with
tour.
me, right?
Right.
We'll be right there no matter what you decide to do. But honestly, what is your secret to keep it and going for so long? And don't you also want to retire already so you can get all the great gifts you're due from the staff?
Well, there's no guarantee I'm going to get great gifts.
Oh,
so I pause on that, right? Okay. I mean, so there's that. The second thing is, the secret to the longevity, to answer one part of your question,
yes,
is the fact I still love sports so much and I'm passionate about it. And also I still feel that there's a connection to the core viewer of ESPN and Sports Center. That's what I have been there since 1992. As we know, we did the math, it's 30 years. So I think that hasn't changed for me. And really just a simple mission statement that has stayed with me for this 30 years is, even though I've been on screens for so long, you have to make believe someone is watching you for the very first time, and you want to win them over. And that was really my mentality. I mean, when I began the career before ESPN, working at a CBS affiliate in Seattle, which was my big TV break, and before that, working 7 days a week in radio, you have to just. That's how you inspire yourself. If you're like, oh, I can't believe there's nothing going on, blah, 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 you're just like, hey, okay, there's someone watching you for the very first time. You got to win them over.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're close to now 6,000 episodes hosted of SportsCenter, right? I know you surpassed 5,000 6 years ago or something.
That got me on number one, as most sports centers ever, male or female, which was pretty cool. And all that. But after you hit 5,000, that you stop counting. Come on.
Right. You stop counting. But much like the Oswego State sunset, you don't want to drop to number 2. So do you tell some of these new Sports Center anchors hey, don't even think about it. Take another job. This is my turf here. I'm the Cal Ripken. Get lost.
Yeah,
something like that.
I know that's probably what you would do in my situation.
Yes, I would. Absolutely. Every single day.
Yes, exactly. But I'm like, no, I'm just going to go about my business and get out my little calculator and add it up. And I think we know it's I'm on top of that, most Sports Center mountains. And, I'm piling them up now. I mean, now that I hit 30, it's like, okay, let's get her to more Sports Centers, blah, blah, blah. But it's really cool. It's just, it doesn't get old. I know that sounds cliche, but it's really fun. When you walk off that set, now it helps that finally they listened to me 4 years ago and sent me out to LA. So the weather's always great. So my whole attitude of life changed. Everything changed.
It's different from Bristol. People say it's different. Yeah, they say it's different from Bristol, but you're confirming that it is.
I'm confirming that. This, by the way, not breaking news. LA is different than Bristol.
Okay.
But just the whole thing of it, it's like it's a little family out there. It's not as, everyone and their grandmother is out there. But it does change. That kind of rejuvenated me as well. I'm not going to lie about it because it felt like a new job, right? And that's how I felt with, ESPN getting the NHL back. That's my jam because I played hockey. I was a goalie back in the day, played with the boys in high school and then women in college at Oswego, type of thing. Nobody showed up for our games, by the way, compared to the guys. I'm just saying that right now. I know that's not breaking news either.
It was too cold to go out. It wasn't your fault.
You couldn't even leave campus. It was too cold to even leave campus to even go to Laker Hall. It was too far away.
Yeah. Oh my God. You know what? Can I tell you a classic story before we get back to
Go ahead.
I loved my years at Oswego State playing hockey. I played all 4 years. It was great. Okay. But the thing is like one time, I think I was maybe it was a sophomore. The coach at that time said, okay, when you get back from Thanksgiving vacation, so you come back on a Sunday, right? And classes are Monday. She wanted practice. She wanted practice on Sunday at Romney Fieldhouse. There was snow on the ground. Speaking of not getting to, Laker Hall, was Romney Fieldhouse, the old one. It was a barn, literally.
Yeah, it was.
And I didn't want to go. I'm like, yuck. It's all that. I don't know. I don't know why you made me think of that. That was a nightmare for me, but I did go because, that's what you do when you're an athlete, as you guys know. I mean, you guys look like athletes.
Oh yeah. You're not the only one in the Sports Hall of Fame in Oswego. I had to chase down a lot of people who owed me money for sports gambling. I had a problem back then. Things are much better now.
Wow.
But,
so you were ahead of your time. You were definitely ahead of your time because look how it's exploded. I think we need to give you credit.
Thank you. Ahead or way behind my time. I do one more thing about SportsCenter before we go on to Oswego. I know I'm jumping all over, but was there ever a time you remember where you like too emotional to go on air? Like or either, swings, either good emotions or bad. Oh my, like Rangers won the cup. I'm too excited. I don't know if I can keep it together. Or, obviously there's so much tragedy in sports, as you know, but does anything stand out one way or another?
Yeah, that's a great question. When the Rangers won the cup, which I did not think would happen in my lifetime, 1994, for those who don't know, I was there. I made sure I cashed in on a favor because as we know, and just to remind, your viewers and listeners, is the fact that when people ask me, what's the greatest sporting event you ever covered? I go, it's the ones that I'm there as a fan because I want to make sure I'm not working. Like when the Giants won their last 2 Super Bowls, I was there as a fan, once with my son, and then once with my brother. And there's nothing better. That's what you want to do. So what was your question again?
I don't even remember. There wasn't something about the sunset. I don't know. I can't even remember.
Well, Linda, I've met you before, but back when in 2008, to just piggyback off that, in 2008, I was also in Arizona. I am now, but in Arizona for the Super Bowl with the Giants, because I'm a big Giants fan as you are.
Yes.
And somehow, some way, I got myself onto the field after the Super Bowl.
And that's where we met, right?
And that's where we met.
Somehow, some way, I got on the field with my brother.
Right, and then afterwards, we were at the. Afterwards, we were both at the Giants party at the.
Yes.
It was unbelievable. I came up to you and I just talked SUNY Oswego with you, and then we're Giants fans, and you were there as a fan, not as covering for ESPN. And you're like, we got to have a shot. So the 4 of us and my buddy of mine. And the 4 of us had a shot. And for some reason, next to us was Trent. I remember Trent Dilfer. And he had a shot with us, too. So the 5 of us were celebrating the Giants win and stopping the Patriots from being undefeated. It was the day
amazing.
Day of days.
That is a great story. And
you could deny that. You could deny it, Linda, if you want. You don't have to.
That's all true.
Okay.
That's all true. And a couple of things. That's the cool thing about, being at one place for 30 years. And there's so many memories. But people like you, every other have some kind of memory, or they actually remember meeting me. And thank God I'm always nice. That's the one thing I'm like, my parents taught me well. They said, you just never know. And I do. I love meeting people. We all kid and we all say, we love our dogs, but people we have to just deal with. But I that's the one thing that I love, that I'm meeting all sorts of people. But that was a great moment. And the reason why we let Trent Dilfer drink with us, by the way, because he was always pro Eli. I would not let anyone in our circle ever who ripped our quarterback. Okay. But I always kid I'm president of Eli Manning's fan club. He doesn't know it. but I'm an Eli apologist, and I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Well, I think he is too, and I hate to say it because I'm a Cowboys fan, and he tore our heart out. I'm going to get to that.
Dak's losing weight. All I hear about, Dak, he's in the best shape of his life. Oh my God! Don't I hear this every year? Not that it's his fault.
I know this is that's how you know there's nothing to talk about. It's a lean sports season. Leonard Fournette gained 30 pounds, and now he has to argue that he didn't, and Dak has lost weight. But I do want to talk about you grew up on Long Island, as did I. You were more on the East End, right? Was that?
Yes.
Where did you go to high school? Did you go to Newfield?
I was way out there. When people say, Linda, where are you from on Long Island? When we start the conversation, someone like you are like in the 5 towns, 2 seconds from New York City. You know, me, I'm like, I'm in the farm country. Place called Coram, I grew up, which was near Selden. I went to a school, Newfield High School. In fact, not that he ever brings this up or ever talks to me, but Boomer Esiason was a quarterback, not at Newfield, but in our division. I think it was Central Islip.
Central Islip was Boomer. Yeah, sure.
Right. Mm-hmm. So his quarterback, he was a quarterback of that high school team and played, Newfield High. And if I recall, we weren't that good, but we had a cool mascot.
Well, I wasn't that far closer to that. I was sort of in the middle. I grew up in East Northport, right near Huntington. So I kind of split the difference between Coram and the city.
I played a lot of, when I was growing up, when I started playing ice hockey and I was a goalie, I played do you remember? It was in Farmingdale, a racket and rink. It was where the Islanders actually practiced. And I spent a lot of my times as a teenager playing hockey there with boys, because there weren't any girls, maybe 1 or 2. Right. And it was really weird for me growing up a Rangers fan. It really got me ready for the business, by the way. Playing goalie, blocking out the noise. Moms whispering under their breath, why is this 15-year-old girl playing with my 9-year-old son? Because that's what they did back then, to make it an even keel for some stupid reason.
Yeah. And so when you grew up, so you went Rangers, Giants, Mets. I went Islanders, somehow Cowboys, don't ask, and Mets. How did you land on those 3? God forbid you became like a Yankee fan or something like that.
Oh God. I kid about, I go, listen, first of all, with the Mets, it was really the only team my dad wasn't obsessed over. He loved the Yankees. And I needed one team that I didn't. Yeah. I needed one team not to go with my dad on this. And the Mets needed my support much more. I mean, name a year. They need more support than the Yankees, right? So that was that. Rangers was all about my dad, and then the whole hockey was just so exciting. I actually began as an Islander fan for a blink of an eye because I grew up on Long Island. I thought it was the thing to do. They weren't on cable TV a lot because the Rangers were on MSG back in the early on when MSG just were born. The Islanders you could only listen to on the radio, and I thought that was cool. I'd listened to a lot of hockey games as a kid on the radio. And which is, great experience when you're a kid and you realize, wow, this is exciting. You want to go into sports because it's so, you create it, right? Your imagination, kids nowadays, they don't know what that's like, right? Because they don't listen to the radio or listen to games on the radio. But but then when the Rangers got to the playoffs and the Islanders, of course, were not in the playoffs. This is way back when, and Islanders maybe first or second year of existence. I was all in on the Rangers. And then, of course, Giants, like my dad, just from the love the Giants, love the color, love everything, the class. The Mets needed me more. And I am a Knicks fan too. In fact, the Knicks actually was the first New York professional basketball team that I really did love, even before hockey. Because back in the day, Walt Frazier, Dave DeBusschere, Willis Reed, who knew that I can't even believe when I was a little girl, that 72-73 championship would be the last championship that team has won.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like when you were young, these teams. So the Mets certainly weren't good in the early 70s.
No.
Well, actually, 73,
the Rangers
they made
were
it to
good, but they never, they were the fat cat terminology, which you probably couldn't use nowadays. That was directed at them, high price stars, never won, beaten by you name it.
And the Giants were Scott Brunner, Dave Jennings. Jennings was the punt. He was the star
Ali
of the
Haji
team.
Sheik. Ali Haji Sheik.
Yeah, sure.
Kicker, and then, Bill Parcells came along and then it was awful. Remember the first year?
Yeah.
But thank goodness Wellington Mara knew what he had and kept him. And it was just fun. You remember where you are, like beating, it's just amazing. Like, Roger Craig fumbling. I remember, like, or in what was it, 1990, and Jeff Hostetler to the rescue.
Mm-hmm.
I love Phil. I love Phil Simms. But, when Jeff Hostetler saved us, we beat Joe Montana a few times. I mean,
huge.
Remarkable. It's like how Eli later on beat Tom Brady a couple of times.
Yeah.
And for Eli's case, it was to, win Super Bowls. And by the way, he's the Manning brother that actually deserved the Super Bowl MVPs if you look at the numbers and stats.
You really are the president of the fan club.
Yeah.
Okay, but now unfortunately things are different. And who do you think gives them the best chance to win this year? Is it Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor, or should they just run the ball 30 times again?
Oh my God. You brought up a sore subject. For 2.5 years since they drafted him, I mean, check the tape. When I do stuff for SiriusXM, Mad Dog Radio, whatever it is, when I can speak freely, Daniel Jones is a wonderful human. He's a great guy. All right. He'll make a nice backup quarterback somewhere. Give me a break. This guy is not getting it done. I'm sorry. Every excuse, he's not saying it. He doesn't whine about it. I give him credit. But everybody else supports him and says, well, Linda, the offensive line has stunk for 2 years. All they do is go out and get better offensive linemen. Oh, Linda, he has no targets. The receivers, they drop balls. Really? I don't think so. I'm just had it with this guy. I wanted them to cut the cord before this season. The new management, the new coach, Brian Sable. Oh, he'll work wonders. Look what he did with Josh Allen. Really? Is he the reason Josh Allen is Josh Allen? I mean, okay. I'm never going to give up my loyalty to the Giants, but there's a part of me, full disclosure, because I'm just not a fan of Daniel Jones going forward as our franchise QB. There's a part of me that I want the Giants to get off to a crappy start. I love Tyrod Taylor. He gets hurt too much. That's the problem. I was hoping we were in the Baker Mayfield mix. Yes, I was. I thought, okay, this guy has something to prove, chip on his shoulder. He'd be great at Giants Stadium. That was not to be. So, my patience is wearing thin.
Right. And Linda, more than anything with Daniel Jones, his rookie year gave us hope with 24 touchdowns. Since then, the 2 years, 21 total touchdowns in 2 years and 20 turnovers.
Exactly. But you forget this point, me being the president of the Eli Manning fan club, he was rushed and pushed Eli out of there. Hey, I know half the Giants fans are like, Linda, Eli stinks. He was bad. He was washed up by then. He had nobody was making excuses saying, no one making excuses for Eli then. Let's get him out of there. Let's find a way to get Eli out of there. That's all. I mean, it was just the new shiny toy that first year.
Well, I think you're going to get your wish, and the Giants are going to get off to a crappy start, and then you'll see what happens. I mean, you can talk about an offensive line.
Spoke it like a true Cowboys fan, by the way.
True. Yeah, right. Exactly.
In the crappiest division in the NFL. Yes,
we have our own problems, but you're right. Daniel Jones could talk about not having an offensive line, but the one highlight that's tied to him forever is him a clear path to the end zone and falls on his face. So, what kind of blocking do you need, Daniel Jones, for crying out loud?
I mean, come on. Yeah, your talent, it's supposed to be your legs and your speed and your agility, but I don't want that from my quarterback. How about accuracy?
Exactly. Yeah, that should be job one. All right, let's take a quick break, Linda, and then I want to talk all things Oswego State with you. All right, we're back with Linda Cohn. Now, as we mentioned, all three of us Oswego State graduates. I was class of 89. Harry claims he graduated in 1990. I'll give that to you, Harry. Actually, Harry is not only 93. Oh, yeah. What am I talking about? I'm thinking 93. High school. Yeah, 93, 92 and 93 we are.
Well, I'll say when I graduated, you can just, what, Harry?
Well, I said Levy, I think, was 90, right? Steve
I don't know. I don't keep track of Steve's graduations.
She has enough to do with the Eli Manning fan club, Harry.
That's right. Exactly. Thank you. But I'll date myself. All anyone has to do is Google me so they can find out. But I graduated in 1981, which was fabulous.
Nice. And have you thawed out fully yet, or is still some signs of frostbite?
Oh, yes, absolutely. One of the greatest things to happen at Oswego State for me is years later, they named a sub after me in the Oswego Sub Shop. True story.
By the way, Linda, Sal's banned from the sub shop.
Stop it, Harry. Don't tell this story.
Sal's banned from the sub shop.
Why can't we tell this story, Sal?
I won I don't know what, there was some kind of dorm competition between roommates, and I won a gift certificate to Oswego Sub Shop. And nice. I ordered it. Back then you had to actually call and order it. And someone, I don't even know how far it got, Harry, but I went to pick it up, and because I had no money, pay for it with the sub shop oh no, here's the thing. They were going to deliver it and they said, no, you can't use it. Right. You can't turn in your gift card on a delivery. And so I screamed at the guy to a point where, I was banned from the sub shop. So.
Well, that's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking. It's a lovely story, Harry.
Thank you.
Brought up for Sal.
Yeah, really good, Harry.
Because you were probably starving at the time. And you're like, delivery dude, take the gift card. I have no money. And you were so hungry, and he walks away with your sub.
Exactly. It's -6 degrees, and I'm sitting there doing nothing but enjoying the sunset there. Now, I do want to say, okay, so you were the goalie for the women's hockey team, right? Did you have a defense in front of you, or were you facing like 50 shots a game? Do you remember?
50 is an understatement. So the toughest team we played every year, was Cornell, Cornell University. They had an amazing team. And remember, it really helped that my career, all I did was play, with guys, and really talented guy. Played on the high school team, all of that. So I was used to getting hard shots, tough shots, players coming in on me, deking me, 2-on-1s, all breakaways, whatever. So I was really ready for Cornell. And the greatest thing when I was a freshman, the year before, Oswego State, they were destroyed something like 16-1 by Cornell. I come in my freshman year facing Cornell. My parents were in the stands in Ithaca. They didn't live in Ithaca, but they made the trip. And you ready? I made something like 65 saves. We won 1-0.
Wow.
It was crazy. I was like possessed. I really was, because I was like, this is not happening. And it was great. As a goaltender, you like getting a lot of shots. Now, not that many. But the point is, I had so much experience of facing high quality players, and that really helped me out. So it was, my teammates were like, oh my God, she's in. Let her start every game. And that was it. I mean, so that was the most memorable game for me. And, but, that was the toughest competition. But that was an amazing night.
65 shots is what Harry accomplished with Trent Dilfer that same night. That's amazing. Wow.
I put my money on Harry.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you. So Harry not only graduated Oswego, he was what we called a townie. And by the way, there were worse names for him that I'm not going to talk about. But Harry actually was born in Oswego. Where did you? Where did you live? Oh, yeah. No, people are from there. Where did you live? Do you remember?
Yeah. Okay. I lived at a few places.
Which dorms?
Freshman year back in the day, Hart Hall was all female.
I was in Fennell.
I was at that. Then my sophomore year, I went to Fennell, and then it went co-ed.
Uh-huh.
And then, so I was there. And by the way, freshman year in Hart Hall, it was, it wasn't, my bad. I stink. I see how you forget things.
Here. Don't lie here, Linda.
I am right. No, I'm right. Here's what happened. Yes, first year, Hart Hall, all female. Second year, I had the first semester, they made it co-ed. I stayed at Hart, okay? That's what happened. I stayed at Hart, and they went co-ed, and that is where I met my future husband, now divorced, by the way. But I met my future husband in Hart Hall.
Wow.
We had the coolest floor. He and his roommate had the greatest parties. End of story. Okay.
That was good enough.
Nice.
And again, he's father of my children. So never will regret any of it. Just greatness. So then Fennell is when first semester junior. I spent one semester there at Fennell. It was okay. And then I went off campus.
Gotcha. Okay. And so when you're off campus, you're just, because I lived above Buckland's, and then I lived down further down. Oh, yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, it was really bad. Yeah, I mean, it's a really dumb decision. If you ever wanted to get to bed before 2 a.m. on any given night.
You were like probably partying all night anyway. You're like, what's the big deal? I'm up anyway.
You know, I wasn't a drinker, and because I had a crippling gambling addiction, I had to pick one. I figured between the two, and but I would play pool. I ended up getting decent at pool because I was the one who didn't drink. Were you a Buckland's, Broadwell's, or Shed gal?
Yeah, when I was back in the day, as we already established when I graduated, few years before you, just a few, Buckland's was the place to be early on. When I was a freshman, Buckland's was the greatest, Then later on, there was a place called Lil's where the hockey players went. I hung out there.
We've been there.
We knew Lil, right?
We knew Lil pretty good.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Meisterbrow on tap.
Exactly. I'm only human.
Yeah.
And, and Lil's had the shuffleboard thing, the little game, you know what I'm talking about? The little sawdust.
The sand and stuff.
And whatever it is. And that was great.
I live 3 minutes from Lil's, actually.
Oh,
that's where I grew up, 3 minutes from Lil's.
That's amazing. I loved it because it was a little, listen, you really want to go to Lil's, as you know, Harry, because with the snow and going through like,
sleet.
It's not right on, as you guys know, it's not around the corner from campus, right? It's
True.
A little bit of a trek. The other place I want to say quickly was the Wheel.
Yes.
The Wheel. Was the Wheel still there? Now, again, my ex-husband, now, again, we weren't married in college, but when I met, he lived off campus, and he, like you, was just like a hop, skip, and a jump from the Wheel, in his case. And fabulous. They had, bumper pool tables, which I grew up loving, going to the Catskills as a kid with my family. Like bumper pool. I was like, bumper pool. Wow, this is great. And they had these little cans of Budweiser. So back then, there was a name for them, but they were the only place that sold, shorties. The
little ones. Yeah.
Right? Whatever they're called. The little, again, the younger viewers will not know what the hell is Linda talking about. But it's like
they should name those little cans after you. Forget about a sub from that
Linda's
that
little cans. How about that?
That's right. There you go. By the way, not just the cans though. Harry, you pointed out that Al Roker has a wing, right, at Oswego?
Yeah, Linda, my major was communications, and Al Roker, deservedly so, has a wing at the communications broadcasting department in Oswego. And I was just, at some point, when is it Linda Cohn's turn to get a wing too? Really, honestly.
Interesting question. And yes, I'm with you, Al. Al is Al. Great. Well deserved. But I wouldn't be surprised if he paid for half of it.
I was just going to say, did he write a check? He wrote a check. That's all.
I mean, it's not
he's
like
up there all the time too, which is really good, really cool.
Yeah, it's not like Oswego State is rolling in the dough. I mean, as we all know, as alum, they're always begging for money, which is what all colleges do.
Right.
Even the ones that are rolling in the dough. But when I was still married, my last name was different. It wasn't Cohn, it was Kaufman. And then we had a plaque, both of us, because again, he was from Oswego too. We had a plaque over a fireplace in that, right outside the hockey rink, there's a little sitting area. And that's where, the plaque, I don't know if it's still there, because maybe since the divorce, they just threw the plaque away. But I don't know. To answer your question, I know Steve Levy has like a whole, a radio booth. Like, this is Steve Levy's radio booth or something, so I don't know. I don't care. I care about, to me, what's golden and not sounding cliche, and what means the most is the memories, the ones we're sharing, the memories of Oswego State. I don't need a trophy or a stupid plaque or whatever. But if they want to put one up, I'm in.
We're gonna see to it that this gets done.
Enough is enough.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. I got the sub at the Oswego.
You got the sub, right? That's good enough.
What more can a girl want?
Then don't anyone dare try to get that sub by ordering it off campus, because it ain't getting to you. That's for sure. Not with a gift card. It's not. All right, Linda, I know you got to go. Harry, by the way, the other day, Harry went nuts when he found out, so much in common with you. And then what happened, Harry? You recorded this from your car. You were listening to Linda. What was it?
I did, Linda. I listen to you all the time. I know you fill in and do a lot of stuff on Mad Dog Radio, fill in for Mad Dog and whoever doing a show that day. You're on all the time. I listen all the time to you. And you came back from break. And listen, the guys here at Extra Points and everything, they bust my chops about my taste in music. I'm a huge Bon Jovi fan. I'm hair bands and but now I absolutely love Chris Daughtry. And when you came back from break and you were just talking about Daughtry, how much you love this concert, love his music, and I'm listening. I'm like, this is the greatest thing. So I just get my phone out and start recording it to send it to the guy to say, Linda Cohn is on board. Not only is she an Eli Manning, president of the Eli Manning fan club, but also the Chris Daughtry fan club too. And I'm right there with you.
Oh my God. Thank you. First of all, thanks for listening to me. And then B, I mean, that's what we love about radio and podcasts and everything. It's just, we can say what's on our mind. And gosh, I told you earlier in this, I love music so much as sports, honestly, helped fill the void. I was a kid with low self-esteem. It gave me, something to look forward to. I related to, I'm not your typical woman. I'm sorry. I did not like ballads or, mushy stuff. Like I love Daughtry, obviously, but his stuff's not mushy. It's like, it's not over, like all this kind of, serious crap. But, I love Journey, right? Journey is one of my favorite bands. Def Leppard is one of my favorite bands, which I'm sure Harry that goes on there. But Journey, I never liked, the ballads of it. I liked Separate Ways. I didn't like Love and Touch and Squeezing, all these like heavy stuff, I need drama. So
let me ask you this.
Love it. Yes, Sal.
You get a hall pass. Is it Chris Daughtry or is it Eli Manning?
Oh, what am I doing for them exactly?
I don't know. I didn't want to have to spell it out. I thought we could. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's a good one. There's something about a rocker. I have to go with Daughtry. Okay.
All right.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow, Harry. This is a big win for you.
They're both happily married. So
yes, of course.
I don't want to see like a click thing. Linda's ready to be a homewrecker.
No, we're not going to ruin lives here. Linda Cohn, thank you so much. This has been terrific. ESPN Sports Center, obviously, Sirius XM Mad Dog, NHL Radio. She's all over the place. She's terrific. And how many saves, Linda? 60?
64.
64. Wow. Good Lord.
Yeah, and a lot of them are on-man rushes. I mean, my head was spinning like Linda Blair from The Exorcist, but it was well worth it. My parents, back in the day, they got to see that, and it was wonderful.
Priceless.
Very special.
Yeah.
Very special.
Guys, thank you. Continued success. Just love what you're doing. Love all of it. And love that we can share these great memories.
Thank you, Linda. This made our year. Terrific. Thanks for coming on.
Definitely.
You got it.